With the basics covered, what is Raven's general strategy? Play lame, deny your opponent big openings while trying to get excitement safely. Once you have level 2 excitement, combo and okizeme options open up. Apply safe pressure and mix while being aware of opportunities to spend 50 meter for big conversions to snowball hard. This strategy will require you to have a solid grasp of poking, neutral, anti-airs, and how to approach when the time comes. Pokes and neutral game. 5p, far S, and 2s frequently. 5p is Raven's lowest commitment disjointed poke, but also his most conditional. Crouching hit enables the far S 2h scratch route, but you'll usually combo into 2d for a knockdown, or far S as a poke string. 5p is also active, which makes it good for catching back techs and back dashes. "5p's low attack level means it won't combo to any H buttons even on counter hit. It also whiffs against most moves that are even slightly low profile, and some characters can just run under it. It also whiffs on a lot of crouching characters, but you can still combo with it since their crouching hit stun hurt boxes will extend upwards into 5p. There may also be some weirdness going on with proximity guard hurt boxes. Jam is the exception because 5p will never connect properly on her. Far S is active for 8 frames and combos to 2d at closer ranges. On crouch, it combos to 2h scratch. On counter hit, it can combo directly to scratch at all excitement levels. It's essentially 5p with more range, but also more hurtbox and whiff recovery. A lot of newbie Ravens get addicted to mashing longer range buttons like 2h or 5h in neutral, but I'm telling you that Far S is the truth. People run into this button all the time, and it covers so much real estate it's tough to avoid without a hard commitment to the air. 2s is a 9-frame startup disjointed poke with barely any hurtbox even during recovery. It's a god button. Use it and abuse it. Easy gatlings into 2d, 5h, 2h for space control or confirming a hit. Cancel into needle for something less committal. 2s will beat basically every ground poke or approach, but it doesn't go all the way to the floor, so low profile moves can still avoid it. Also, due to the way 5h appears and then moves forward slightly, the 2s 5h Gatling is surprisingly inconsistent at longer range. This depends on each character's hurtbox contortion when reeling back as well. "5h and 2h occasionally. These pokes are tempting because they combo to scratch on normal hit and have juicier reward on counter hit, like an IAD or Dust. "2h is 15 frame startup for the entire distance, while 5h is a notorious, monstrous wall of a hitbox that expands outward from Raven's body for 10 active frames. But both buttons have huge amounts of whiff recovery. Do not use them frivolously. Also be mindful that 5h's different hitboxes have different effects on counter hit. First hit gives a long stagger, but that will be normalized by the second hit unless you preemptively jump cancel or do a fairly tight single hit confirm. 2h into tap stance improves the recovery by 1 frame and helps insulate you against people who might instant block and IAD. 2k. 2k is a solid poke that doesn't extend Raven's hurtbox until the active frames and shrinks during recovery, making it very safe. 2k and 5p can gatling back and forth into each other, enabling flexible poke strings. Raven has a somewhat low profile during 2k, and 2k hits all the way to the ground, which makes it a relevant alternative to 2s for intercepting low-profile moves. By all metrics, 2k is a great button, but don't be surprised if you rarely get to use it because people are jumping at you all the time. I mostly use 2k when I absolutely need something with as little whiff recovery as possible. Descending jump K, S, or D. Because Raven has trouble positioning himself on the ground, you'll probably end up neutral jumping a fair amount or doing single forward and back jumps. Jump K, S, and D are the buttons to push during these jumps. Jump K is active and hits downward, Jump S is fast and hits outward. Jump D hits at a nice diagonal angle between those two normals, but its extended hurt box can be exploited by some 6Ps or other disjointed attacks. Be mindful of projectiles and the landing recovery. Jump K won't do much on counter hit, but it can Gatling into Jump S or Jump H, enabling a mix or combo. Jump S has much more hit stun on counter hit, enabling a lenient confirm into an air combo or even into anti-air grab. Projectiles and stance. Needles. Raven's ground needle is one of the game's more annoying projectiles, but its recovery is quite long. Needles apply a slowdown effect on hit that lasts for 1.5, 2, or 2.5 seconds depending on excitement level. The way this slowdown effect is applied is by cutting the opponent's horizontal movement speed in half under all circumstances. This generally makes moves look very silly and not quite behave the way they're supposed to. If you'd like to see more, you can check out this video where I've covered and documented all of the weirdness that Raven's Needle can inflict. Air needles, specifically the K trajectory, are really useful because they intercept air dash height and cover a very useful angle, both when TK'd and done higher in the air.
Gotcha. Snipe.
At mid-ranges, air needles can also set up a basic tech trap with anti-air grab, which is usually safe due to the slowdown effect. Raven can act in the air after throwing a needle, which is possible around single jump height, so it's useful to save your air action in case you need to jump or air dash back. You can also use needle to feint out of an air dash, but not once Raven is moving parallel to the ground. Orb. In neutral, Orb covers a fairly nice section of the screen above Raven's head or far in front of him, which sounds more effective than it actually is. I usually only use it this way against characters with committal movement like Slayer or Potemkin, and even then a low excitement Orb is only 2 weak hits, not a big deterrent. Not a bad option, but people generally won't just jump into it and get hit. Generally. Note that because Raven's anti-air grab is an unblockable strike, anyone who jumps into an orb can be grabbed without any chance of escape. Stance. Stance is sort of an anti-poke in that it doesn't occupy any range, but it soft wins against almost any incoming strike. But there's a lot of nuance as to how you can use stance to bait your opponent into particular actions, but the rule of thumb is, do a short stance if you aren't sure what your opponent is going to do. Release it immediately if there's no attack coming. If you have a good idea your opponent will attack, do a predictive stance and release K just as the attack connects. Absorbing an attack with stance's recovery is almost always a guaranteed meterless punish for Raven. Don't ever hold stance for more than half a second. 2 short stances are generally better than 1 long stance because PRCing stance just to save yourself sucks. Do not use stance just to gain excitement unless you know your opponent is playing passively and will let you do it for free. This is semi-practical in matchups like Faust or Zato, but elsewhere it's usually asking to get thrown or to give up the screen. Anti-airs. Air-to-air jump P. Fast, safe air button that leads into a simple combo and knockdown. One of Raven's most effective and simplest anti-airs. Air-to-air jump D. Jump D has incredible horizontal range, so it can be useful for stuffing people below you and sometimes in front of you. Very committal on whiff though, and it does enforce landing recovery. Air throw, the Guilty Gear classic. Get used to doing this against air dashes and awkward jump angles just above your head. You don't have the luxury of a godlike 6P, so practicing air throws is pretty necessary for playing Raven. You don't have to air throw everything, but it's very important that you can air throw when you need to. Stance. Stancing a jump in with the proper timing can lead to a guaranteed 6P or other anti-air combo, especially high attack level jump-ins. It's less reliable against multi-hit moves because those tend to hit the recovery of stance, because they're more active. Stance YRC helps stabilize the situation, as mentioned earlier, but it's not a guarantee. 6P. Meh when stationary, decent if dashing. Raven's 6P has a solid vertical hitbox, but the upper body invincibility is only average. Its short horizontal range is the real issue, since it's very easy for people to jump outside the range and simply avoid it. Honestly, 6P is mostly a follow-up to Stance YRC because of how unreliable it is by itself. 6P doesn't usually convert on normal hit, since you can only Gatling to close slash or far slash, which have worse vertical range. It also has a giant hurt box along Raven's arm on whiff, which makes it uniquely easy to whiff punish. You should only anti-air with 6p expecting it to be a counter hit, and you single hit confirm the cancel to anti-air grab. Dial in the motion, press S if you see a red flash. The anti-air grab is pretty reliable even against lightweights, but you'll have to delay the cancel if they're high up. I have found surprising success with a belligerent forward dash into 6p as an upwards poke against people trying to retreat or set up an air projectile, but it's obviously high commitment, so please be careful. Air scratch. Meh, except when it counter hits. Air scratch is kind of like a mini beak driver, with a big, somewhat disjointed hitbox that reaches below Raven. On counter hit, you get a nice wall bounce, enabling a combo if you're anywhere near the corner. On whiff, it's actually not that bad because Raven recovers in the air and can still move afterwards. On block, it's very minus. You probably won't get punished for it, but it's definitely a success for your opponent. Air scratch can also be used as a decent anti-anti-air against big hurt boxes, mostly just Faust. $5K. 5K looks like an anti-air and it can work as one, but it's significantly worse than other 5K anti-airs like Soul and Answer, or 5P mashes like Johnny and Eno. The simple reason is that Raven 5K takes 11 frames to get above his head, and he extends his hurtbox upward during the startup frames. The hitbox itself is also not disjointed and only active for 3 frames above his head. It has its place, but it's a mediocre anti-air whose best quality is low whiff recovery. That said, it covers an angle that nothing else does, so use it. One final note about 5K, which I've just now discovered in clarity while I was recording footage for this guide, is that it has slightly different cancel properties compared to 6P, and this means that you can't anti-air with it into the same options in the same way. So if Dizzy does some kind of air approach,
Yes.
and you want to hit her with 6P, you can do both an immediate cancel and a single hit confirm in order to make sure that you are going to get the hit. So I'll show off anti-airing Dizzy with 6P. That was an immediate cancel to 6P. That was a late cancel to 6P. I confirmed that it was a red hit, a counter hit, and then I input the motion, or I finished inputting the motion. Now with 5K, I'm going to do a preemptive 5K, and then I'm going to do a single hit confirm into a jump cancel. As you can see, no problems, because you can jump cancel 5K pretty freely. However, if I want to confirm into anti-air grab with 5K, I have to be preemptive. In that case, I finished the motion as 5K was hitting, so I had no way of knowing whether or not 5K was going to be a normal hit, or a whiff, or a block, or a counter hit. Here's what happens if I try to use 5K and then single hit confirm it after it hits. As you can see, the anti-air grab does not even come out, and I promise my inputs are clean on this.
Yes.
And it has to do with that property that 6Ps and some attacks have, and in this case 5K does not. 5K, startup, active, recovery, no issues. 6P on whiff, startup, active, recovery. 6P on hit, startup, active, huge delay cancel window to special moves and other Gatlings, and then recovery. So this is the reason why 5K is generally always canceled into a jump combo, because even though it does work to anti-air grab, you don't have the same luxury of confirming the hit. 5P and 5H. These normals terrified people back when everyone was collectively pretty bad at jumping because they cover an angle that is outside of the typical anti-air range. But these days I rarely anti-air people with 5P or 5H unless they're just bad at jumping. That said, they are still relevant options, especially if you read a delayed tech into buttons. You do get a pretty reliable combo to anti-air grab on counter hit, which is nice. Be mindful that the confirm window from counter hit 5P is significantly shorter than Raven's other conversions. Raw anti-air grab. Please do not do this. Unless... Okay, seriously. It's bad and overcommittal compared to air scratch or forward jump jump P. But I have a strangely high success rate doing anti-air grab at round start, since it hits almost any air option other than an instant air dash backwards. That's the end of this video, which showcased how to reliably play neutral as Raven. You should now have solid ideas about poking and anti-airing, and which option is the best for which situation. This info covers Raven's perspective, but it is also helpful for understanding the Raven matchup, helping you to avoid positioning yourself at bad regions against Raven and not giving up too much for free. The next video will cover how Raven can approach once he has established a neutral advantage, and then after that we'll move on to combo theory, how to spend meter efficiently, and how to efficiently loop set play, a personal favorite of mine. This video was initially going to cover approaching, but when I got into the anti-airing section, it kind of ballooned out of proportion, and I realized that it's a very nuanced subject in this game, and especially for Raven. That's probably one of the reasons I like playing him so much. More good stuff on the way. Thank you so much for watching. Your support means the world to me. Remember to like and comment and subscribe so you see any subsequent sections of the video guide, and just so that I know I'm not shouting into the void. Thanks.